Today on the Daily Meditation, we are going to be discussing how to change your perspective on life. Remember to subscribe. So we all have a perspective on life. Some of those perspectives are very common. For instance, the perspective that life is hard. But what does it really mean to have a perspective on life? Well, if you think about a camera and taking a photo. If you're taking a photo of one scene or one object, obviously the object or the scene does not change. We are looking at reality, and reality is what it is. However, you can have different angles with a camera. You can position your camera in different ways, and that will give you a different view of the thing that you're looking at. So, when we're talking about perspective in life, what we really mean is the angle from which you're viewing reality. So what exactly creates our perspective on life? Well, I've talked about this in a different video on the Daily Meditation. However, your perspective on life is created via a combination of different elements. Your thoughts, your beliefs, memories, emotions, and sensory input from the outside world. Put all of those things together, and that is what creates your perspective on life. And if you change any of those elements, if you change your thoughts, if you change your beliefs, if you change your emotions, if you change the things that you choose to remember, change any of those things and it will change your perspective on life. Now, the first thing that is really important when we're discussing your perspective on life is simply to realize that you do indeed have a perspective on life. Many people look at the world and they think, this is the world. This is the way that I'm seeing the world right now. This is how the world is. But actually, that really isn't true. Because what creates your vision of the world isn't just the world itself, but the way in which you choose to see it. So I'll give you an example of one time in my life when my perspective and my attitude really affected my happiness. So when I was younger, for the longest time, I used to have this belief that I was missing out on things in life. And I know exactly what created this. It was the fact that my brother was living a very different life to the life that I was living. My brother is a very sociable person, constantly going out. I'm more of a kind of introverted, introspective person. And so I always felt when I was younger, when I was a teenager, that I was missing out on things that my brother was doing. And that created a belief that lasted for a long time. And that belief, of course, affected my perspective on reality, such that I saw the world as a place where I was missing out. Even though that wasn't true, I was doing tons of stuff. I was just doing different things. But the belief changed my perspective on life. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you how to change your perspective in life. But first of all, I want you to take just a moment to consider what your perspective is. What are your overall ways of looking at the world? Do you think the world is fair, unfair, hard, easy, happy, sad? What perspective do you have on reality? Now let's go one step further. Why do you think you have that perspective on reality? Now remember, your perspective on reality is created via a combination of thoughts, beliefs, memories, and emotions, and sensory input from the outside world. So if you look at those different elements, what is it that is causing you to have your current perspective on life? It could be a specific memory. Perhaps there was a bad time in your life that you keep remembering, and it was a really hard time. So because you keep remembering that time, you've developed the belief that life is hard, and that's affecting your perspective. Perhaps it's a certain thought or a belief that is affecting your perspective on reality. By becoming aware of the perspective that you have and what it is that creates that perspective, whether it's thoughts, feelings, memory, beliefs, or sensory input from the outside world, when you become aware of the different elements that are creating your current perspective on life, then you become in control. Because you can change all those different elements. You can look at your thoughts and say, hey, well, I keep thinking this, and this is clearly affecting my perspective on reality. So what happens if I change that thought? Or maybe there's a particular time in your life that you keep remembering. Even though you've had 1,000,001 different experiences in life, there's one memory that just keeps coming up, and it's distorting your perspective on things. So ask yourself, what is it that's creating your perspective on life? Is it recurring thoughts, a belief, memory, some kind of emotion, or is it the environment in which you're in? Which one of those is most distorting your perspective on reality? Once you become aware of that, you can quite easily change the way in which you see your world. And I'll show you how. So, if you have a certain recurring thought or a recurring belief, it's actually really easy to change that. So let me go with the example of life being hard. So you keep thinking life is hard, and then because you think life is hard repeatedly, it's become a belief. Because it's become a belief, you now see a world that is hard to live in. But if you simply force yourself to think the opposite of your belief, if you choose to think life is easy, here's what happens. You create the thought in your mind, life is easy. Your mind, because of the nature of the mind, your mind seeks for congruence between the different elements. So what I mean by that, your mind seeks similarities between your thoughts, your memories, your beliefs, and your emotions. So if you create a thought that is the opposite to your beliefs, like if you think repeatedly, life is easy, your mind is going to be forced to remember times in life when life was easy. It's also going to be forced to create an emotion of ease because your mind is seeking congruence. It's seeking similarities between your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, etc. So you can do that as a mantra. Simply close your eyes and meditate, and then whatever your belief is, whatever your negative thought is, think the opposite. Recite that in your mind. If you believe life is hard, make life is easy your mantra. And I promise you, if you do this, your mind is going to come up with memories of times when life was easy, thoughts that involve how life is easy, and an emotion of ease. So, by becoming aware of what your primary thought is, for instance, life is hard, going with the opposite of that, life is easy, and then repeating that in your head, it's going to change your thoughts, your memories, your beliefs, and your emotions. And as I said in the beginning of this video, your perspective on life is created via your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your memories. So by using that one thought as a mantra, the opposite of your current belief, by forcing yourself to think life is easy, it's going to change all those other elements, and then that is going to change your perspective on reality. And that is how to change your perspective on life. Simply become aware of what your perspective is, be aware of how your thoughts are creating that perspective, create the opposite thought. So life is hard, I'm now thinking life is easy. Meditate on that as a mantra. Your mind will gradually create all these thoughts, memories, emotions, etc. that show you that life is easy. and it's going to change your perspective on life. And that's my tip for the day. Remember to subscribe. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. Remember to like this video. And until next time, stay sensational.